Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and it's Game Day Loki. Episode 3 is on tonight, and if I'm a little bit more excited than normal, it's because you got to understand, I haven't seen a new episode of Loki in like 3 or 4 weeks, right? Because I saw episode 1 and 2 in advance, and what sucked about that, I mean, that's great. I'm glad I got to see them in advance, but what sucked about it was that it meant I had to wait like 3.5 weeks to see a new episode of Loki. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, 8 hours from now, T-minus 8 hours and counting, episode 3 of Loki comes out. And, you know, I always say that any day that I wake up and I know that I'm going to the movies that day, I know that day I'm going to a movie theater. To me, that day is a good day. Like, I just have a good day the whole day. And while it's not quite as good as that, the days that I wake up and I know there's a new episode of WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier or a new episode of Loki, it's just a good day. There's a smile on my face. There's a skip in my step going through the day, knowing I'm going to get to watch a new episode of Loki tonight. And I'm very, very excited about it. And since this is the first episode that I have not seen yet, that means we get to do a pregame show, and that is what we are here to do today, guys. So this is what we're going to be doing for our time here together this afternoon. We're going to be talking about our expectations, our theories, our ideas, what we are thinking we're going to get out of Loki episode 3 just 8 short hours from now. And that's what we're going to be doing. Now, if you want to send in a comment, theory, observation, whatever, unlike the John Campea Show, you don't use the tip link that's down in the description of this video. That's for the John Campea Show. Just simply use the super chat feature here on YouTube if you want to get a thought on the show, and we will simply go from there. Now, I'm expecting big things from the show here tonight. I think since by the time we get to the end of episode 3 tonight, we will officially be halfway through. We will officially be halfway through Loki, which means we're going to be heading into the final 3 episodes, and I think we are going to get a dump load of information tonight that sets up the final 3 episodes that brings us to their resolution. So I think tonight, here's my guesses. I think tonight we are going to get the identity of the variant. Is it Enchantress? Is it Lady Loki? Is it an amalgamation of the two? Is it something else entirely? I think we're going to get that. What is it this variant is after? You know, Loki said, hey, let's take down the TVA. And they're like, I'm not interested in that. Well, then what the hell is this variant interested in? I think we're going to find that out tonight. I think we're going to get a few more clues about the Timekeepers themselves tonight. I don't think we're going to get full answers on the Timekeepers themselves tonight, but I think we're going to get a few things. And I just basically think that we are going to get a lot of info tonight. I think tonight's episode is going to be a big setup episode. And, you know, some people who don't know what they're talking about, they're like, oh, I don't like setup episodes. Setup episodes, that's the meat. Setting up the episodes is the meat. Those setup episodes, if they give you the right information and they cue everything up properly, they are just as rewarding as the payoff episodes a little bit later on. I love great setup episodes. If they're done well, and if they're done right, and if they really tee it up for you. And then the question will become, is the dude who collects the Infinity Stones as paperweights, is he actually Mephisto? I mean, that's what everybody wants to know. Is that like part Asian guy, kind of nerd office dude at the TVA, is he Mephisto? That is, of course, the big line on the money on everything. We're going to find what's going on. So anyway, guys, enough with me. Let's spend our time now hearing what you guys have to say about that. And we'll go for as long as we need to go for here to get through everything that you guys want to talk about. So let's jump into it. And by the way, just reminding you guys that tomorrow, of course, at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be doing our Loki episode 3 open spoiler discussion once we've all had a chance to watch it. And of course, that is just less now. It is now 7 hours, 43 minutes until the debut of Loki episode 3. So for now, let's get right to it and see what it is you guys are wanting to talk about. We're going to start things off here with Ismael Montoya, who writes in, hey, John, over under 50% that at the end of this season 1, the variant Loki will not be pruned or deleted. Thoughts? I'm going to go under 50% on that. I think whatever this variant is, this variant that right now we're calling Lady Loki, or maybe it's Mephisto or something else. Anyway, keep saying Mephisto. I think there is over a 50% chance that they get reset. That's the terminology. That's the nice terminology the TVA uses. Reset. I think this variant will be reset. I don't think this variant is hanging around in the MCU. But then again, we've got 4 episodes to go. And ask me again at the end of episode 5 if I think this variant's still going to be around, because maybe we'll change our mind by then. But right now, I'm going to say it is a over 50% chance that this variant is going to get, at the very minimum, reset, or deleted, or whatever it is they want to call it in this. All right, next up, Pedro Faria writes, can't wait to hear more from Natalie Holt. Love the score. The thing about the score is, we've been talking about this throughout. I have traditionally felt that while the MCU has, kind of been in the lead ahead of the DCU in most ways, I have felt for a long time that the one area that I think the DCU has kind of trumped the MCU has been in the world of their scores. I've really felt like the score is something that DC has always done better than Marvel. But as we've been talking through WandaVision, through Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it really does feel like they have really picked up their score game. You know what I mean? It feels like their score game has gotten a lot better, particularly with these shows. So I'm always looking forward to hearing the music, and we'll see how that goes tonight as well. All right. Thanks for sending that in, man. Okay. Next up, we have, so just do a little adjustment here. Okay. We have next up, that was Pedro. Next up, we have Casey McNatt, who writes, so due to confusion to the earlier show today, I actually did some research and found out that the woman that was in episode 2 that says, we need this, is actually played by stand-up comedian Kate Berlant. Okay, that's good of you to write in, Casey, because earlier today on the John Campea Show, Casey wrote in and said, man, did you see that Catherine Hahn, aka Agatha, made an appearance in the show? And I'm like, are you talking about the woman at the Renaissance Fair who says, some of us need this? I love that line in that episode, by the way. I said, was that? I didn't think that was Catherine Hahn. And then I asked the people in the live chat, and all the live chat said, no. That was not Catherine Hahn. And Casey looked into it himself. So thank you for doing a follow-up to that, Casey. I appreciate that, man. That's very considerate of you, my friend. All right, next up. Pedro Faria writes in, so excited. It's game day. Love your work, John. It is. Listen, I'm not kidding. I get so stoked. I feel like I want to go tailgating on these days. I seriously, I feel like I want to get a bunch of friends together, barbecue in the backyard, get ready for the show to start. It's got the energy to me of a big game day. And that's why we call these things the pregame show. I get totally hyped for it. I'm very excited for it. And I cannot wait to see what we're going to get tonight, Pedro. All right, next up. Live in Spirals tips in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, man, for supporting the channel on that level. Writes in, I think there's a real Lady Loki, dead now. They saved Sylvie for unknown reasons. Loki likes kids and raised her. Maybe that's why Sylvie gave the kid the gum, saw a bit of herself in them. Her goal is to bring Loki back. Now, I've heard a few people with theories like that this is not Loki or a version of Loki, but rather this variant is somebody connected to a different version of Loki who has been erased by the Time Variance Authority and wants to bring that Loki back. Now, I have no idea if there's any real legitimate possibility that could be true or real, but it would be an interesting story turn. It would be a very interesting story turn if that's what they were doing. So we'll have to see. Again, I think the identity of this variant and the motivation and end game, if you will, of this variant, I think we're going to find those out tonight. I really do. And then that will give us 3 full episodes to get that all fleshed out. But I think we're going to find that out and we will see. But that would be an interesting thing. Personally, I think she gave the kid the gum as a purposeful clue and hint, wanting the Time Variance Authority to eventually find her. Now, I don't know that for sure. We'll find that out. But I have a hint she left that clue behind on purpose. So we'll find out, though, man. Again, thanks for sending that in live. I appreciate that, man. All right, Data Axel writes, wasn't a Nexus being, Wanda's a Nexus being. Could be Pietro. Could Pietro be a variant? I don't think so. Now, when you say Data Axel, is this Cody? Of course, my friend Cody Miller him and his wife this past year had a baby. Their baby's name is Axel. Are you referring to yourself as Dada Axel? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. But, so maybe it's Cody there. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, they did refer to her as a Nexus being in WandaVision. So we're already seeing some threads tying together. What does a Nexus being really mean? She's not a variant. Wanda's not a variant. As a Nexus being, does that mean she can travel in and out of the Nexus? I mean, I really don't know. Are there two different meanings to Nexus? You know, one means one thing over here. One means something else somewhere else. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. But no, I don't think Pietro is a variant. It seemed like Agatha literally just got that guy named Ralph and passed him off as Wanda's long lost brother. So no, I don't think it's because if it was a variant, if Pietro had been a variant, it would have looked like, oh damn, what's Kick-Ass's name again? Aaron Taylor Johnson. Then it would have looked like Aaron Taylor Johnson. So no, this was just a guy named Ralph. So no, Pietro was not a variant. All right, next up. Dada Axel also writes, great thumbnail. John is a Loki variant, confirmed. Again, in case you haven't seen it, Ray, my brother-in-law Ray, who does a lot of our thumbnails, he put this together for us. I said, hey man, I need a pregame show. And he put this thumbnail together, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Loki has never been more handsome. That's all I'm going to say. Loki has never been more handsome. So yeah, there's that. All right, next up, we go over to, that was Dada. Next up, we've got Emil Johansson, who writes, what did she mean with it's real? Dude, that's a big question. What did she mean with it's real? When the TVA agent acted scared in the last episode, she said she wanted to go home. Is the TVA her real home? Now, this is something I've heard a lot of discussion of this week, is what was going on with that TVA agent that had been taken prisoner, and then they find her at the store, and she's just like, she seemed like a little bit ludicrous, like, it's real, it's real, it's real, I want to go home. Like, does that mean that she wasn't created by the TVA, that she was stolen from somewhere else and now she wants to go home? Or was she simply saying she wants to go home to the TVA? Or was it just gibberish of a woman going a little bit crazy? I mean, I don't know, but I've heard a lot of conversation about that, Emil. And I think we're going to find that out tonight. So let's see. Let's hang in there. It's a really good theory. All right, next up, Josie Reviews writes, hear me out. I believe Robert Downey Jr. will show up not as Iron Man, but as a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. A little Tropic Thunder in there. God, I loved Robert Downey Jr. in that role. I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. I loved him in that. I thought that was great. And listen, the way Kevin Feige goes, I wouldn't even be completely shocked if Robert Downey Jr. showed up in this show. I mean, I'm obviously not predicting that, but I just wouldn't be completely shocked or surprised if he did. All right, next up, Marie Seifring writes, and at the episode 3 promo, Loki shows up at the TVA flipping knives from Hunter B-15's locker. Sylvie is seen attacking 2 TVA agents. I think the door from Roxcart leads to an emptied out TVA and starts episode 3. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I did not watch the promo. Now, normally I make it a point and I make it a rule for myself to watch all the promos. I just chose because I think that this episode is actually going to reveal so much. I actually decided not to watch any promos. And I really should have. I mean, and I will moving forward because I should watch the promos going into here. But I saw out of the corner of my eye that there was a promo or something, and I just decided to avoid it. So I didn't watch it at all. And if there are promos moving forward for other episodes, maybe I will, but I didn't see that tonight. So yeah, we'll go. All right. Thanks for writing that in, Marie. All right. Stephen Wolf writes, hey, John, big fan. Thank you, Stephen. Possible theory as to why Lady Loki time bombed the sacred timeline. Is it possible that her timeline was predestined by the Timekeepers to be destroyed in an apocalyptic event? Maybe that of Ragnarok. Maybe, but again, see, here's the problem, Stephen. I don't believe yet that the Timekeepers write people's destinies. right? Remember, we talked about that difference. There's a difference between foreknowledge and predestination. I think they just know what's going to happen because they live outside of time. So they see time, like pretend this remote control is time. There's the beginning of time, there's the end of time, and everything in between. And they just know what's going to happen. And when a variation happens that threatens Nexus and multiverse, they go in and correct it. Because they already know how. It's not that they make it happen that way. It's that they know that's the way it's supposed to happen. And any deviation from that causes multiverse. So I don't know. Now, again, I could totally change my mind about that once we get more information from more episodes like tonight. But for now, I don't think the Timekeepers sit out there and write out people's destinies. Everybody made their own choices. It's just that the Timekeepers know what those choices are. There's a difference between me knowing what you're going to say and me making you say what you're going to say. Those are two different things, right? Those are two different things. So that's kind of the way I kind of look at that right now. But we'll see as we get more information there, Stephen. All right, Casey McNatt writes, one of maybe three. John, I have a theory, and I don't think we will ever see this character again, but I think the spoiled rich kid that got pruned was a Loki variant. Notice how he kept on mentioning, do you know who my dad is? Well, what if his dad was actually Odin? Well, that if his father was King of Asgard. I know this probably will not come back up, but it's interesting to ponder. I don't think so. I don't think that was a Loki variant. I think that was just a snotty trust fund kid. Because, you know, somebody brought it up in an earlier episode, and I think they made a lot of sense. It's like, okay, we got to see the TVA exercising authority by like wiping somebody out. But we don't want them to seem like evil for wiping somebody out. I know. Let's make a snotty trust fund kid get wiped out because none of us will feel bad about that. So hey man, listen, you never know. You never know, Casey. Maybe we'll find out that was a Loki variant, but I really don't think it was. It was just too far off the beaten path, so I'm going to guess it's not. All right, Marie Seifring writes, so Loki may get gang pressed like old British Navy into an assault on the TVA, and this show turns into The Fugitive. I don't know what gang pressed means. Like old British Navy. I don't know. I have no idea, Marie, what that reference means. I have no idea what that reference means. I really don't. Yeah, I can't, since I don't at all know what the reference means, and I feel kind of dumb, but because I don't at all know what the reference means, I can't possibly address it. I'm sorry about that. All right. Let's see here. We're now about, Stephen Wolf had a third one. Anyway, Stephen Wolf writes, by time bombing the sacred timeline, she would be able to cause a branch reality where her world doesn't get destroyed. What are your thoughts? Again, I don't think so, because even by first of all, you don't need to do all this bombing to create a Nexus event, right? All you got to do is have a variation and not let the TVA stop the variation. That then redlines and becomes multiverse, whatever. But I don't think she has the power to create what that new timeline will be. At least not that I know of. Again, we have 4 episodes starting tonight left in the show of new information to get. And maybe once we start getting more information, particularly tonight, we're going to be able to more solidify a lot of those series. So I don't know if I buy into that one, but we will wait and see. All right. Casey also writes in, I'm just excited for episode 3 because nobody knows where it will go. Now that the first 2 episodes have come out, people don't know what will happen next. Listen, I will tell you what, I completely agree. Right now, I have no idea. And there's something exhilarating about that. I have no idea where they're going with this. I don't know who this Lady Loki is. I don't know what their end game really is. It's obviously not to take down the TVA, so I don't know what the end game there is. I don't know what's going on with Mobius. I don't know what they specifically took time out to focus in on that pen, so there's obviously going to be some kind of relevance with that pen later on. I think that Mobius is a clone, and we're going to find out that there's multiple Owen Wilson Mobiuses running around. Maybe yes, maybe no. But it is infuriating and exhilarating at the same time to really have no real hardcore idea about where this thing's going right now. But again, I think that's going to change tonight. I really do. I think that's changing tonight. All right, next up. That was Casey. Elif Beyrazli writes, So glad the pregame show is back. Keep up the good work, John. Thank you so much. I love doing the pregame show. I wanted to do it last week, but I just realized, well, since I've already seen episode 2, anything people say in the pregame show, I'm just going to go, I can neither confirm nor deny that. I can neither confirm nor deny that. Like, that's all I'd be able to say. So I'm glad it's back too. It gets me even more hyped for the show, which is now coming in 7 hours and 37 minutes. 7 hours and 37 minutes till Loki episode 3. Thanks for that, Elif. Never lose your nerd rights. Crazy theory I've been thinking about, but what if Miss Minutes, which is, by the way, I got Ms. Miz right over here, keeping an eye on things, keeping track of time for all time, always. What if Ms. Minutes is the true villain, and it's like Mitchell and the Machines, tinfoil hat, I know, but who knows? I doubt that. I doubt that very much. Look, there's a lot of things on the table. There are a lot of possibilities on the table. I think Ms. Minutes being the one behind it all along. It was Miss Minutes all along. I don't see that being the case. I really don't. I think that would piss a lot. Pardon me. I think that would piss a lot of people off. I don't think that's the direction you're going. But hey, maybe we'll get a whole evil soliloquy from Ms. Minutes tonight, and maybe we'll think differently. All right. Next up, we go to Elif, who writes, over under 40%, we get a Miss Minutes appearance in episode 3. I'm going to go over 40%. I wouldn't say 80 or 90%, but 40% is a low mark there, so I'm going to take the over on 40. All right, Elif also writes, been thinking about the conversation between Loki and Mobius in episode 2 about belief. I have a feeling that Mobius' belief in the TVA will be tested in future episodes. I agree. Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying that I think we're going to find out that the TVA is actually evil, right? But that maybe the way they do things, that Mobius is always just accepted. He thinks there could be a better way. Whichever way or direction they go, I agree with you. I think Mobius is going to have a crisis of faith moment. It's a great thing in writing and in screenplays to have one of your antagonists or heroes come to a crisis of faith moments. I think Mobius is going to get that. In what form, I don't know yet, but I do agree with you. I think Mobius is going to have that moment, that crisis of faith moment. We'll see where that goes. All right, Marie Seifring writes, thinking about Mobius and the rings on the table, I think the TVA agents who start to question too much may get reset from time to time and not know it. Well, see, this goes to my theory about why I think there are multiple Mobiuses. She says, you caused the rings. And he's like, oh, did I? All right. I think there are others just like him. I think all the field agent bosses are all him. I think he's the investigator and there's multiple copies of him. Again, I don't know that. Nobody's told me that. I'm just guessing. There is some precedent for that in the comics because Mobius is cloned a lot in the comics. But again, just that's the comics of the comics, the show's the show. But there is some precedent there. But I think it was a Mobius who gave her the pen. I think it was a Mobius who gave her the snow globe. I think it is other Mobiuses who made the rings on the table. So, yeah, I mean, that's my guess right now. But I could have a totally different guess after tonight's episode, Marie. All right. John Redcorn writes, over under 42%. Mobius says, oh, wow, if Mephisto appears. Look, I'm torn on this. Part of me thinks that they know at some point Owen Wilson has to say, wow. But the other side of me thinks Owen Wilson very deliberately doesn't want to say that. So I think it's a 50-50 straight down the middle chance. All right. Random Tire writes, do you think the TVA is in the quantum realm? That's why it's not affected by time, and Ant-Man 3 will be them entering the quantum realm to stop Kang. I don't think they're in the quantum realm. I think this is just my theory right now. I think the quantum realm exists within this thing. Like maybe in the quantum realm, you can go back and forth and whatever within this timeline, but I believe the TVA is outside of this thing altogether. It's like me looking at it right now. I think the quantum realm is inside of this and it operates freely, but it's not outside of it like the TVA is. That's my guess. Could be totally wrong, but we'll see. All right, Fanblaze71 writes, this has to be your best thumbnail yet, John. I love the thumbnail. I do love the thumbnail that Ray put together. I think he did such a great job on that. I think it looks great. Again, like I said, Loki has never been more handsome. All right, next up, We got Fanblaze also writes, over under 30%, we see Loki show up in Thor 4. Also, it seems like everyone is talking about Loki and there's hardly anybody talking about Black Widow. Well, I mean, because Black Widow's not out yet, right? Black Widow's not out yet. Loki is happening right now. Loki is on right now. So that's where our attention is. I mean, I think if Doctor Strange 2 was coming out in 4 weeks, we would still be talking about Loki today. I think if Spider-Man No Way Home was coming out in 4 weeks, today we'd be talking about Loki. Because Loki is here right now. Out of sight, out of mind. Once we get to within about a week of Black Widow dropping, you're going to see a lot more attention on it. At least I think so. Anyway. And I'm going to take under 30% that Loki shows up in Thor 4. Hiddleston has already said he's not in it. Of course, that could be a misdirect, but 99% of the time when an actor says he is or isn't in something, it's usually true. So I'm going to go under 30% that he shows up in Thor 4. Although I would love to see him show up in Thor 4, so we'll see. All right, next up. JMeister25 writes, Game day! I saw complaints that having Infinity Stones in a drawer makes the previous films meaningless. Not at all. No, it does not. That is a bad take. That is a bad interpretation. Anyway, but how exactly does introducing a higher tier of power negate the sacrifices of a lower tier? Look. Again, I know people get sick of this, but this is the best way to understand it, in my opinion. The whole story of the timeline and what happens in the timeline is not negated by now us as the audience discovering what is happening outside of the timeline. In this world, every choice and action has consequence. And the events of the Infinity War, the Infinity Saga, have consequence. It's like this. A murderer takes a knife and stabs somebody to death. That has meaning and consequences and repercussions. Now, in the TVA, you can't stab anybody. Does that mean the consequences of what happened with that murder in the timeline are meaningless? Not at all. It makes it more meaningful. So yeah, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that finding out that in the TVA, outside of reality and time, that the Infinity Stones are powerless. That takes nothing away from the impetus and the weight of the story that takes place within time. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's just kind of my take on it, Jay Meister. All right, thanks for sending that in, man. Next up, John Demoto writes, where are we at? John Demoto says, John, any chance we could get your wife Anne back on the spoiler discussions? Enjoyed her feedback on WandaVision. It's possible at some point, but here's the problem. Anne works all day. And quite often because of, look, she's got a high ranking position at Apple and her workday is not simple 9 to 5. And so it became very, very difficult for her. And sometimes, she planned to be on, she wanted to be on, but she was just too wiped out to get on camera in front of, thousands of people and go, hi, everybody. I mean, it was difficult. So you will see her pop up, but I make no promises. She's literally napping right now out in the living room with our 2 dogs because she needs to take a nap so she can stay up to watch Loki later tonight. But yeah, there's that. All right, next up. Where are we at? That was John. Thanks for asking about her though, John. Next up, Daniel Luna writes, it's game day, over under 20%. Loki gets pruned and doesn't actually die, but gets sent somewhere else. I have a feeling Loki is going to get caught this episode and we see the Timekeepers in the end. Well, I don't think Loki gets caught because while Mobius and the TVA, to them, it looked like Loki was running from them. I don't think Loki was running from them. I think in that moment, Loki made a decision that this variant needs to be caught. And I think Loki made the decision that he needed to pursue her. Now, I don't know that. That is just my guess. That is just my guess. That Loki wasn't running from Mobius and the TVA. He was running after the variant. And I think that'll come out. Now, maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out tonight in a few hours, but we'll see, Daniel. We'll see. All right, next up, Alan Renshaw writes, Hey, John. In the initial trailer, we see Lady Loki and Loki sitting down in what appears to be Volmir. Do you think we are getting that scene? I honestly have no recollection of that. I have no recollection of that. So I can't comment on that. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, unfortunately, I if any of you guys, if any of you guys in the live chat know the answer to that or know what's going on, let him know. But yeah, I have actually no answer to that. Hold on a second. Okay, next up. Sorry, my stream keeps freezing up here. Okay, next up. Daniel Luna writes, last episode when B-15 woke up after being enchanted, her face seemed like she realized something, as if being enchanted woke her up from a sort of trance. Probably nothing, but something I picked up. I agree it's probably nothing. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but my guess is it was nothing. I mean, I think she was bewildered. I think she was, I think she was disillusioned. I think she was also a little bit embarrassed. I think there was a lot of that, but I didn't pick up on that thing like she just woke up to some kind of reality that she wasn't aware of before. I didn't pick that up on that myself. So I don't know, but maybe we'll find out. All right, next up. We have Al Rensha writes, hey, John, do you think Loki could actually still be helping the TVA? I think he is. Maybe his plan was to find her, get some information, and report back to the TVA. I do, actually. Even though he gave her this whole speech of, I'm looking for a partner to take down, I think he was just trying to manipulate. I don't know this, and maybe we'll find out otherwise tonight. But my impression was he was just trying to manipulate her. My impression during that sign that he was trying to manipulate her and capture her. But whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it seems like Loki has been doing a lot of self-realization in the show, even in just 2 episodes. But maybe there's still a long way to go from that, Al. We'll find out. All right. Next up, Tim Platt writes, hey, John, have you considered doing the pregame shows closer to the release like you did with the companion video, I believe, last week? I don't know what you mean by that. Like you did with a companion video last week. I don't know what that means. Well, I mean, we were only 8 hours away from the show launching. I can't do it much later because Ann and I have to have dinner. I've got to work on show notes for tomorrow's show. And then I got to be up and watch Loki later. So I don't know where I'd have the time. Right now is when I have the time to do it. So again, it's only 8 hours out. So I think that's pretty close. But anyway, there's that, Tim. Thanks for asking. All right, next up. Evelyn writes, bet one of the Timekeepers is Thor's roommate, Darryl. Man, I so badly want them to make more Darryl shorts. Because they did a couple with Darryl and Thor, and then they did one with Darryl and what was Jeff Goldblum's name again? What was his character's name again in Thor Ragnarok? I keep forgetting. Something Master? I can't remember. Guys in the live chat, what was that? It was Jeff Goldblum's Grandmaster. Thank you. I knew Something Master. They did the one short with Darryl that instead of rooming with Thor, he was now roommating with the Grandmaster, which was great. I would love to see more of that. So we'll see. All right, next up, Matthew Heap writes, I believe the discarded Infinity Stones may be ones removed from timelines that passed the red line as a final resort to destroy the branch. Thoughts? I don't think so. Here's what you could be onto something. The reason I don't think so is because remember, if things go past the branch, then it's said in the info show that Ms. Minutes did that if it does go past the red line branch, then it says, BAM! Then multiverse happens. And they're right back to square one. So I don't believe they've ever let it cross into multiverse stuff yet. So I think they're just various Infinity Stones that have been taken from various variants. Various variants. Say that 10 times fast. That's my guess. I don't think they've ever crossed the red line into multiverse because that means they failed. That means they're right back to the whole interdimensional war. And I think that's probably something they are avoiding. But I don't know, Matthew. We'll find out. All right, you might be right. Mighty Tank writes, hopefully Rob remembers to watch this week. I texted him already. I texted him, don't forget to watch Loki tomorrow morning. He might watch it tonight, but I got a feeling he'll watch it in the morning tomorrow. So he'll watch it before the show tomorrow. That I'm very, very confident. All right. Juan writes, John, I hope we get more background on Lady Loki. I don't even think it is Lady Loki, but I completely believe that tonight we will get a lot of information on two important things. What is her identity and what is her endgame? Because then we're already at the halfway point of the show. We've only got 3 episodes left after tonight. So I think tonight they will establish those things, her identity and what the endgame is. And then we have 3 episodes left for that to play itself out. But we'll find out. We've got just a little over under 7.5 hours to go until we find out. All right, thanks for that, Juan. Appreciate that, man. Juno Faulkner writes, I believe either Owen Wilson or Tom Hiddleston said that they were most excited for audience to see episode 3 and 4. So my expectations are high. Dude, again, I think this is going to be a pivotal episode. I think this is the episode where the true stage of the drama gets set. And we will have a much clearer picture of what it is that is unfolding as we move forward. Now, could be completely wrong about that. I didn't hear Hiddleston or Owen Wilson say that, but it sounds completely believable because that's exactly what I think we're getting tonight. Fingers crossed. All right, thanks for that, Juno. Next up, AJC writes in, well, we may finally get some sort of confirmation in Loki that the What If series will tie into the MCU. The end of episode 2 leads you to believe this. I really don't think so. I was at D23 when they talked about What If. What If is not going to be tied to anything. They were pretty explicit about that What If really just is that. It's a what if. It's a totally make-believe, standalone, separate thing of just some interesting stories. You know, what if Black Panther was this? What if Sharon Carter got the super soldier serum? What if this? I really don't think they were pretty clear, at least at D23 as they were explaining the What If series, that it was very, very much just a standalone, separate, fun story kind of thing. So I don't think we're going to see that there's going to be any connection. Now, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But if they stick to what they were saying before, it seems like they've already got their plans. All right. Thanks for that, AGC. All right. Alec McVeigh just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Alec. Appreciate that, man. All right. DVD Coakley 2 writes, one thing that confused me from the last episode was how Loki knew details of Ragnarok, etc. He knew Hulk was there, could have pushed him off the Rainbow Bridge. I can't remember the order in which things happened. Did he read the report before saying that? Or did he say that earlier? Like, a lot of people are confused. How did Loki know that there were multiple, Avengers there? And because he said, he goes, you can tell from, Tony Stark's multiple colognes that there were 2 different Tony Starks there, right? But with the Ragnarok thing, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and read that, but I think the report was first. I think now I'm seeing a bunch of you guys in the live chat saying, yes, he read the report. So I'm thinking, yeah, that is probably the most logical explanation for that he read the report of Ragnarok and it's like, well, if I could go there and do that, I would do this thing a little bit differently. So there's that. All right. Thanks for asking that. And thank you to everybody in the live chat for backing that up. I appreciate that, guys. All right. Next up. Windwalker57 writes, 1 of 2. Loki's got beef. There's a lot of parallels to the idea of God's plan where following it will lead to salvation/enlightenment. Loki has been given a life that sucks for others' benefits. In other words, his own needs are beyond irrelevant. He can never be happy in the plan. But again, I don't believe that. I don't believe that's what the show is saying either. I think everything that happens to Loki is a result of his choices. And then the choices that he makes up his part of the story in the sacred timeline. And now it's set. This is the time. He made the choices and that now time is set. You in your own free will made all your choices. And the result of your choices leads to what we know as the events in the sacred timeline. And now it can't be deviated from because that creates multiverse and creates variations and could end the universe and all of reality as we know it. At least that's my take on it, Windwalker. And now we may find out that I'm completely wrong about that. I may totally change my mind about that after tonight's episode, but that's how I kind of see that playing out. All right. Let's see. Where are we at here? Next up is Darth Vicianti, who writes, Lady Loki / Enchantress will come from a previous timeline that the Timekeepers destroyed. Possible. The question then becomes, why are they only appearing now? But then again, that's me thinking in linear time and maybe this is a being that lives outside of that now, much like the Timekeepers and the TVA itself. So maybe, but Darth, you're not the first one that I've heard say that. I've heard several people theorize over the last few days that this Enchantress Loki, this variant, is from one of those timelines that no longer exists. One of those multiverse realities that was involved in the multiversal war that no longer exists. And maybe their endgame is trying to restore whatever their timeline was, whatever their reality was. And again, I don't know if that's true, but I think we're going to get a lot of information tonight. All right. Next up, Windwalker57 writes, oh, that was 2-2. We already had that. Cam K writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Cam. I appreciate that. Just wanted to ask where you saw the reset charges were localized. I got the opposite impression. They wipe out the entire branch timeline and everything that's being stoit. No. See, here's the thing. Okay, let's think of it like this. Let's say you have a set of dominoes, right? Let's say we got 3 dominoes here. John, I thought that was the sacred timeline. Yeah, it was. Now it's a domino. Okay, so you have a set of dominoes, and they're supposed to stand straight. If I tip one over, it hits that one, then that one tips over, it hits that one, and then that one hits the next one, that hit with the next one, blah, blah, blah. So think of that as a variance happening in the timeline, okay? What happens is, when a variation and a Nexus event is detected, the TVA, so they see, oh, this domino's falling over. Oh, no, it's falling over. It's going to hit the other domino. The TVA comes in, sets a reset, and it doesn't wipe out everything. It wipes that out. There. Now with that localized thing wiped out, it doesn't hit this domino, which causes another variation, which then hits that domino and causes something that wasn't supposed to happen. Everything is now fine. The idea is they do it so they don't have to wipe out an entire reality. They just wipe out whatever could affect something around it. Right? At least that's the way that it really came across. That's why the variant has been hiding in apocalypse events. Because since nothing that happens right there in Pompeii can possibly affect anything else, because everybody there is going to die, therefore they cannot spread the variation of the timeline. It's all localized. And I think that's what the charges are for as well. Because, again, if the charges just wiped out everything, she wouldn't have needed to send out multiple charges. Right? So, I don't know. Now, again, I am basing that personal theory on the very limited amount of information that we've gotten in the first 2 episodes. Ask me again tomorrow. I may have a totally different theory, and I may completely agree with you tomorrow. So we'll see, Cam. We'll see. All right. Thanks for writing that in, man. All right. Alma Powell writes, I think Lady Loki may have taken over Mobius or is Mobius. In episode 2, Lady Loki says, you do really like to talk, repeating what Mobius said in episode 1. You know what? I'll tell you what, Alma, I haven't considered that. That's a very legit possibility. Like, I believe there's multiple Mobiuses. I mean, for all I know, this variant is the one that left the rings on Verona's table. Ravona's table. Maybe that's the variant. Maybe that was the Mobius that gave the pen to her. Or the snow globe. Maybe. And maybe that Mobius had that conflict, that crisis of faith, and now has a different mission. Maybe. I hadn't thought about that one. That's a good one, Alma. All right, Cam K writes, could Wanda be a Nexus being means that she has no variants? Maybe she, by higher chance, creates Nexus events with no variants, leaving trails of branches. Possibly. I don't know. I really don't. Again, here's the point. I'm not even 100% sure, because remember, a Nexus was something different in the comics. It was something completely different. Her being referred to as a Nexus being may not mean the same thing as the word Nexus in Loki. It might not. But until that becomes a little bit more clear, it's difficult to really say for sure one way or the other on that. So look, right now, we don't even have a clear picture of what is happening in Loki. And without having a clear picture of what's happening in Loki, it's impossible to guess how then Loki ties into something that happened in WandaVision when we don't even know what's happening in Loki yet. I think we need to get a more solid understanding of what's happening in Loki before we try to theorize about how it ties into the other shows that have happened already. And then once we do, we can start putting some of those puzzle pieces together. But it's good to think ahead, man. It's good to think ahead. All right, next up, we got Miguelito Riaz writes, "Hey, John, can't wait for the episode. Me too, man. I'm dying. I've been dying. This is the first time I get to watch a new episode in a while. I'll be watching as I turn 23 at midnight. Happy birthday, man. My birthday is tomorrow. Always look forward to the pregame show. Well, happy early birthday to you, man. May you have a fabulous birthday and a fabulous year ahead of you. And what a way to ring it in than watching a new version of Loki or new episode of Loki. It's good to have you here, man. Thanks for joining us. All right, next up. Let's see. Matthew Jacobsmeyer writes in, I think tonight the variant will paint the TVA as the villain, and Loki will return to the TVA trying to figure out the truth. Loki would be trying to find the truth rather than being the one twisting it. See, I agree. I think what we are seeing here is, and one of the reasons I've loved Loki so far, is that what we are seeing is real character development with Loki. We are seeing him as a character evolve, even in just 2 episodes. We've seen him come to the realization of some uncomfortable truths about himself. We see him coming to understanding the position he's in right now, and I think that's affecting him and his overall outlook on life. And I agree with you. I think what we are getting now is we are not finding a Loki who's trying to manipulate the truth. I think we're now getting to a Loki who's trying to uncover truth. Now, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know, possibly. That's a lot to assume off of just 2 episodes worth of information, but we'll find out. We'll find out. Okay, let's see. Next up, we've got Michael Bradley who writes, Hello, John. I believe the TVA will be destroyed in episode 3, leading to Loki having to make a decision, his freedom or trying to stop the variant on his own. Here's why I disagree, and that's certainly possible. That is certainly possible. But here's why I disagree. I disagree because I think it's too early in the show for the TVA to be destroyed. I think the TVA, by the way, I think the TVA still has a lot bigger of a role to play in the show Loki over the next few episodes. So I can't, now I'm not saying I don't think the TVA gets destroyed at some point, but it just seems like it's way too early for that to happen. So I'm going to guess no, but hey, listen, Matthew, if it does happen tonight, tomorrow on the post-game show, tomorrow on the spoiler discussion, you can say, hey, remember I said, and I'll tip my hat to you, sir. I will tip my hat to you. All right, next up, we got Jose Miaz writes, chances that Kang appears in the end. I say 40% right now. Right now, I'm setting it at 40%, which means not likely, but a very legitimate chance, you know? So I wouldn't bet money on it, but I think there's a legitimate chance. Again, when the Kang theories started to come up, I kind of rejected them, but the more I thought about it, I've warmed up to it. So we'll see where it goes. All right, Cam K writes, maybe Nexus being refers to someone who has the capability to produce a Nexus event instantly, giving the TVA no chance to clip the branch. Again, here's the problem with that, Cam. It's baseless speculation. Like, again, right now you're trying to connect dots between, it's like this. You're trying to connect dots between this cup and this camera when we don't even have the cup yet, right? You're trying to figure out the connection between this cup and the camera when we don't even know what the cup is yet, let alone where the cup is. We don't know what's going on in Loki, let alone, and we have to understand what's going on in Loki before we can even begin to try to figure out how then functionally does that connect to what happened in WandaVision. Until we got a clearer picture of one, I don't know that we can have another. So anyway, that's just my guess. We'll see though. I like that you're trying to think ahead though, man. I like that you're trying to think ahead. Okay, by the way, I'm only going to keep the super chats open for about another 5 or 10 minutes. So if you have something that you want to write in to have read on the show, you got 5 or 10 minutes to do it. And then I'm going to turn the super chats off and we'll just finish out with the ones that we already have. So I see a lot of you guys sending in stuff, a lot of things to say. I'm loving it, but I've only got a certain amount of time and I want to make sure we're able to read every single one that gets sent in. So there you go. Okay. Next up, we go to, Dino Barletta, who writes, John, have you heard the theory that the TVA is the small city we saw in the Quantum Realm, Ant-Man and Wasp? Avengers also used the Quantum Realm to time travel. Again, somebody brought that up a little bit earlier. That's not what I think the TVA is. Again, if you're talking about time and reality, I think the Quantum Realm lives within this. It's a part of this. And the TVA is even outside of that. So I don't buy into that theory. But again, I'm saying I don't buy into that theory based on the information I've gotten out of just 2 episodes of Loki. My theory can totally change when more information gets given to us, right? Because all we can do as individuals is make deductions based on the information we have at hand. And when new information gets introduced, then we need to reevaluate our deductions. And so for now, I don't think the Quantum Realm is what the TVA is in. I think the Quantum Realm lives within our reality. And the TVA is outside of that. So that's my theory right now based on the information we have. But ask me again tomorrow and I could have a totally different theory, dude. Totally different theory. All right, next up. We have, where are we at? Hold on a second. Okay, we have Nerd816 writes, 1 of 2. Hey, John, I'm loving Loki through and through. I am too so far, man. One thing about this show that really hooked me are the small moments of dialogue from Loki and Mobius. For example, episode 2, when Loki took Casey's drink, Mobius and Mephisto have 3 of the same letters. Need I say? Oh, that's Cecil. That's a different one. Sorry. Okay, so let me see. It jumps around a bit here, guys. Sorry about this. When Loki took Casey's drink, during his apocalypse demonstration on Mobius' salad, Loki greeted Casey with, "Nice to see you." It was such a small little moment that briefly showed us the different side of Loki that we rarely get to see. Cheers. I mean, yes, and by the way, thank you for tipping in like $20 on that, Nerd816. Thank you for supporting our channel on that level as you did. Listen, to me, it is the little moments like that that elevate a show from being enjoyable to being great. It's the little moments. It's not, did you see the monster blow up? Yay, this show's a 10. To me, it's the little details. It's the little moments. Like when the one Hunter B-15, is that her name? When she said something like they were standing around in the circus tent at the Renaissance Fair, she said something kind of nasty, and all Loki says is charming. You know, it's little things like that. Nice to see you. Little things like that. Right? I don't want your pity. Good, because I'm running out. Little moments like that. It's the little things and those moments, those details that elevates something from a pretty good show to a great show. And that's why I just kind of hang on every syllable, and the dialogue has been sharp and great, and I've been enjoying it, man. I've been enjoying it a great deal. So anyway, agree with you completely. Good observation. And I hope we continue to get more and more of that as we move forward. All right, next up. Cecil Cross writes, Mobius and Mephisto have 3 of the same letters. Need I say more? It's all Mephisto, man. It's all Mephisto. All right, next up. Casey McNatt writes, over under 50%. Do you think the Timekeepers are real or is it a sham? Here's what I think right now. I think they're real. Just like the Wizard of Oz was real, he just wasn't what we thought he was. You know what I mean? The Wizard of Oz was there, but he wasn't this big thing that they saw. He was actually a man behind the curtain. And I think the Timekeepers are real, but they may not be the 3 space lizards that we may think they are. I don't know, but I think something else is going on there. I think we're going to see that something else is going on there. Okay, so give me a quick minute here because I need to go in right now and turn off the super chats because we've had a lot more come in and I want to make sure we get through all of them. And there we go. Okay, so now we're all set, ready to go. Let's get through the rest of your guys' comments and questions here. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so I'm going to say over 50% that the Timekeepers are real, but being real, I don't necessarily 100% think that they are as they've been portrayed. They might be something else, but I think they're there, whatever they are. All right, next up. Peyton Null writes, Loki says the variant uses enchantment in episode 2. Yeah, well, it is an enchantment, right? But it's more than an enchantment. It's not like they brainwash the people in something. It's like they actually transfer themselves and possess the person. So it's going to be interesting to see what that's all about. But yes, Loki did say it's enchantment. We'll see what the meaning of that is. A-Rod 2006 writes, you think we see Jonathan Majors in the next 4 episodes? I don't. Now, not like 0%, not 0. I would set the chances at about 15%. So 15% is low. So, I mean, do I think it's likely we see him? No. So I don't think we will. But I don't think there's 0 possibility of it. I'd set the likelihood of maybe 10 to 15%. All right, next up. JMeister25 writes, by the way, regarding high tier versus low tier, I completely agree with you. Just wanted to say again that I love your game days. Me too, man. I love doing game days. I love it. It just gets me even more hyped and I start learning theories. I learn things from you guys. It just makes it more fun to watch the show later on tonight. So thank you for that, Jay Meister. I appreciate that, dude. All right, David Baker writes, come on, John. Timekeepers have the Loom of Fate from the movie Wanted. Of course, for those of you who haven't seen the movie Wanted, which is great. It's James McAvoy, Angelina Jolie, Morgan Freeman, Common, Chris Pratt is in it, by the way. For those of you who don't remember the movie, they tell the future by the weaving of threads in a loom, in an old style weaving loom. And it's called the Loom of Fate. I know it sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, and that's why a lot of people guffaw at the movie. I thought the Loom of Fate was great. Then we're going to find out the TVA is actually run by the giant Loom of Fate. It's a big crossover, David. All right, next up, Ismail Matoya writes, hey, John. You always hear our predictions, but what is your prediction for tonight and where Loki will end up at the end of the season game day? No, listen, it's way too early to try to make a prediction as to where Loki ends up at the end of the season because we haven't even really got the full picture about what is this story about yet, right? I think we're going to be in a much better position after tonight because right now we don't even know what's going on. What is this variant even trying to accomplish? Like in the Infinity Saga, we found out pretty quickly. Thanos is trying to wipe out half of life in the universe because he believes that will bring balance to the universe. Okay, now we know what's going on. We can start building our predictions, all that kind of stuff. With Loki right now, we don't even know what this variant's trying to do. We don't know what the end game of this variant is yet. So I can't even begin to guess where I think Loki's going to be. Now, as far as tonight goes, here's my predictions. I think we will number one, find out the true identity of the variant. My guess is it's an Enchantress, Lady Loki kind of hybrid character. I think number 2, we will find out what the end game is. I right now don't have the foggiest idea what they're after. Because I would have guessed that what this variant wants is to topple the TVA. But when Loki presented that, they kind of shoot it off like that's not what they're interested in. So I don't have the slightest idea about what her endgame is right now. So that's where we're at right now, dude. That's where we're at right now. All right, next up. By the way, guys, we're going to take this question, then we're going to take a short 5 minutes break. We've been going for about an hour. I'm going to take a short 5-minute break here in just a minute, and then we'll finish off the rest of the questions. Kenna writes, rewatch the 2 episodes, and M basically, who's M? Mobius? Anyway, and Mobius basically told Loki, you won't run because you know we'll catch you. I think Loki ran at the end because he knew that he would be the only link the TVA had to the other Loki. See, basically, Kenna, what you're saying is exactly what I was saying earlier, right? A lot of people think Loki took the opportunity to run away from the TVA. Even the TVA thinks that's what Loki... It's clear Mobius says, I think Mobius believes Loki ran away from them to escape. I don't think that's what Loki was doing. I think Loki in that moment made a decision. I can't let this variant get away. And therefore went through the portal himself. Now, again, we'll find out pretty quickly tonight in 7 hours now. We're going to find out in 7 hours if that's true or not. But I think you're right, Kenna, and you're thinking right along the lines with me. So we'll see. We will see. All right, guys, listen. We've got more to go from Raymond, Elif, Cam K, and others. Hang tight, guys. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. I'm going to refill my drink. I'm going to stretch my legs for a little bit, rest my voice for a moment, give you guys a chance to talk amongst yourselves, run to the bathroom, do whatever it is you got to do. So we'll be back in like 5 minutes or less. Hang tight, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. All right, everybody, and we are back. Thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I refilled my drink, rested my voice for a minute. You guys have no idea. I've been talking for 5 hours today. Did the 2-hour John Campea Show. We did a 2-hour, me and Kimberly Curran did a 2-hour companion video, which I'll post up on the channel a little bit later tonight. And now we're 1 hour into this. My throat is starting to feel it a little bit. I gotta be ready, man. I gotta be ready for my hooping and hollering and yelling and screaming for Loki tonight. All right. Anyway, let's get back into it and get through the remainder of your questions. We left off with Kenna, and thank you for sending that in, by the way, again, Kenna. Let's get into Raymond Verrata, who writes, did Owen Wilson say wow yet? I'm just waiting. Nope. Again, I think it's 50-50 whether he does. Obviously, a lot of people waiting for it, but that may be why Owen Wilson may not want to say it. So as of yet, not yet. We'll see if he does, though. Elif writes, I would love to see Luis Michael Pena recap every MCU show. It would be funny to see his take on Loki. Dude, I say that about everything all the time. I think every MCU movie, show, whatever, should start with Luis giving a 5-minute run-up to setting up the events of the thing. Every time. Every episode, every movie, you name it, do it. I'd watch the hell out of it. It's one of the best characters in the entire MCU is Luis. All right, next up. Cam K writes, hey, John, on Lady Loki's file, it says Sylvie Laufey's daughter. If that doesn't muddy the waters on her identity, I don't know what does, but yes, this is real. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, I was talking about this on the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today. Do you guys remember in X-Men? I mean, it happened in other movies too, other X-Men movies, but in X-Men Days of Future Past, it might have been one of the earlier ones where Mystique, no, it was one of the earlier X-Men movies where Mystique breaks into a computer, in one of the government facilities. And then you see a bunch of names of very famous X-Men characters. It's like, oh, well, then that means, but it meant nothing. It was just a little Easter egg thing. It may mean something. It may mean nothing, right? Because we've got a history of these little crumbs, but that don't necessarily mean anything. Because maybe it's the wrong file. Maybe they think that's the variant they're dealing with, but it's actually not. Maybe it's something else. Again, it could be a hint and it could absolutely be a clue, but it may not be. So until we see what's going on tonight, until they say it in the show, don't be quick to deduce what you think's going on. We'll see, Cam. Well, I mean, it may come into play. It very well could. But I'm just saying, don't take it to the bank quite yet, because we don't quite yet know, right? So we'll see. All right, next up. Max Cohen writes, due to timeline bomb and a Lego toy leak, over under 40% we see Frog Thor as a cameo or bigger part of the episode. I have no idea. I am completely unfamiliar with whatever the Lego toy leak was. I have no knowledge of that. Don't know. Don't care. So I will just, from a complete lack of knowledge on any part, Max, I'm going to take the under on that because I simply don't know. I'm not familiar with this theoretical supposed leak. But, I mean, it sounds wonky enough. It sounds crazy enough like something they may do. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see that tonight. All right, next up. Jose Reviews writes, hashtag justice for Mobius's salad. I like that. Put that on a shirt, dude. Totally put that one on a shirt, Josie. Totally put that one on a shirt. All right, Magic K writes, what if Loki secretly hinted that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness will be about different timelines, not the comic multiverse? What's your opinion on that? I have no idea what you mean. I have no idea what you're talking about. What if Loki secretly hinted that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness will be about different timelines, not the comic multiverse? What's your opinion on that? Well, again, I'm not completely clear on what it is you're asking there, Magic K. So let me take a leap here. I've already established that multiverse to them is something different. It's not completely the same as what multiverse in the comics was, right? Multiverse is a result of timeline variations that create branches that go off and create entire new realities, right? Which is similar yet different from what it is in the comics. There's some similarities there, but there's also some differences there as to the entire foundation of it. And that is clearly what multiverse means now. If anything else, Kevin Feige has now defined for us, what does multiverse mean in the MCU? And now we have the answer to that. It's fragmented timelines that branch off and create entire new realities of time. It was described by Ms. Minutes, who's sitting over there. It was described, and now we know what multiverse means. So we can extrapolate that a little bit to assume that, yeah, it's not going to be multiverse in our understanding the way it's traditionally been used in the comics. It is similar in result, but different in approach. So that's probably what they're going to mean. And it's probably the approach they're taking. Again, may or may not. We still have 4 episodes of information to find out. But I think that Kevin Feige, it's not a hint. I think Kevin Feige has clearly, pulled his dick out, slapped it on the table and said, this is what multiverse is in the MCU. A little bit different from the way it's treated in the comics and what it is in the comics, but this is what it is in the MCU. And they do that a lot. So, so I think kind of that's what they're doing there. I hope that answers the question, man. I was not positive if I did, but I hope that I did. All right, thanks for sending that in, Magic K. Next up, Random Tire sends in a super chat badge just to be supportive. Thank you, Random Tire. Appreciate that. Eduardo writes, John, why can't the imminent red line limit be pushed as farther away from the sacred timeline without creating alternate realities permanently? Well, you and I have no idea how that works. So I can't possibly say. I think the red line isn't a line they set. I think they just recognize that once a variation goes unfixed, once it hits this point, a simple charge isn't going to reset it. That at that point now, it's the spread of the variation has gone too far out of control that it can just be fixed or reset properly. And now we are dealing with a new timeline and a new multiverse. That's my guess from the information they've given us in the first 2 episodes. That line isn't something they can just move. It's not an arbitrary thing. It's that this is the point that we know that if we don't contain a variation by the time it hits that point, then it's outside of our control and we can't do anything about it anymore. At least that's how I've interpreted it so far. We'll see how it unfolds. All right, thanks for that, Eduardo. All right, H. Henry 1980 writes, did you see the video showing that Loki read the report showing Lady Loki is Laufey's daughter Sylvie, proving that she's Loki? Again, it proves nothing. It proves nothing. There are still a lot of variations there. It could be that they're reading the wrong file. It could be that the file is incorrect. It could have just been a little Easter egg thrown in there that isn't actually applicable. There's a lot of different things. Or it could be exactly as it seems, but we've seen this 100 different times in comic book movies that sometimes little details like that are in there, but they don't actually have ramifications and they're not actually real. And sometimes they do. Whether this is one of those situations that it has no actual ramifications in the show or whether it does, I think we'll find out tonight. And then tonight, they'll prove it. But right now, that wasn't actually proof. All right, next up. Cam K writes, appreciate the explanation, but they showed the whole branch being erased in the cartoon of the reset changes. Also, Lady Loki rigged the charges to create timelines instead of erase them. I don't know that that's true. And I think here's the thing. I think you misinterpreted. You might be right. But where I'm at right now, and I may come onto your side after tonight, where I'm at right now, I think you misinterpreted it. See, again, to the domino example, by eliminating just this piece of the domino, it eliminates that everything else that could have come after. The danger of what that was going to create is now gone. It didn't wipe out all the healthy stuff that was going on. At least that's not how I interpret it. It looked fairly clear to me. But again, as we get more information, Cam, tomorrow I could be singing a very different tune. Like I could be totally right on your side with this tomorrow. So I'm not naive enough to think, oh, we've got enough information now that I know exactly what's going on. No, from the little bit of information we have, my theory is this. And I think it's right, but we always think our own theories are right until we find out that they're not. But tomorrow I could be singing a different tune. Let's see where we go. All right, next up. Random Tire writes, Mark Hamill playing Bert. That has nothing to do with this, Random. All right, Cam K writes, last one, John. Love when we agree and disagree. Quick question. If you think if Toby and Andrew appear in No Way Home, they will be variants? Don't know. I mean, because that's an if on top of an if, right? If Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in Spider-Man No Way Home, which we don't know that they are, then would that mean that they are a variant? So it's kind of an if built on top of another if. I don't know. I really don't. A lot will have to do and depend with how does the rest of this show, Loki, define what the multiverse is, right? How does the rest of the show even define what the multiverse is? Because listen, let's be clear. As of right now, there is no proof that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in Spider-Man No Way Home. Because if there was any actual real evidence of that, the Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, The Wrap, Variety, they would have reported it, and they haven't. Now, I believe they will be, but believing they will be and knowing they will be are two very different things. So if they're in it, what does that mean in terms of multiverse and variations and all that kind of stuff? Again, we don't even have a full picture of what that means yet, so I can't even speculate, man. I can't even speculate. Let's answer the first question about whether or not they're even going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, which I'm not totally sure that they are. I think they will be, but I don't know they will be. We'll go from there. All right. Let's see. Next up. How do you pronounce this? Nomadic. Nomadic Medusa writes, "Hey, John, loving the show. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. In retrospective, I am so glad WandaVision didn't go full multiverse like everybody wanted. Oh, I'm glad they didn't too. The story they told, it wasn't right for the story they were telling. They were telling a story about a girl dealing with unbearable grief and pain. That's what that story was about. And it was perfect the way they did it. I'm glad they didn't go off into nonsense of 15 other things. I'm completely with you on that. Anyway, I'm so glad WandaVision didn't go full multiverse like everybody wanted. It's more interesting understanding how this all works before it kicks off. I agree. Now look, we are only 2 episodes into Loki. For all we know, the next 4 episodes are going to be complete crap. I'm not saying I think they're going to be complete crap. I think they're going to be great. But I mean, again, for all we know, they might be complete garbage. But right now, each show has been outstanding as its own standalone show. They have also clearly been planting seeds that will expand the overall understanding of the MCU at the same time. The way they have approached these Disney Plus shows in the MCU has been wonderful so far. Has been absolutely wonderful so far. By the way, I'm just going to mention this. Anybody in my live chat who uses the idiotic term get woke, go broke, or some variation of that, I instantly just think you're a troll and I'm just going to ban you from my thing just because only a moron would say stuff like that. Anyway, next up, that was Nomadic Medusa wrote that. Okay, thanks a lot for that, Nomadic Medusa. We'll see. We'll see. Because again, I agree. I think they've been doing great standalone shows, but they've also been weaving together a great larger tapestry. How that starts to look, that larger tapestry, we'll get a better picture of it as the next few episodes start to unfold, and we'll see where that goes. All right, next up. Kenna writes, in the argument, that's not Lady Loki, when Loki got beat up, he said, I wouldn't treat me like that, and Loki is the expert on Loki. Again, that is, of course, one of the things that I said was, I don't know that they were dropping, it felt to me, felt is not proof, by the way. It felt to me like they were dropping hints that this is not Lady Loki, right? And that one line, Kenna, was one of the lines I thought, now, again, that doesn't mean I'm right. I could very well be wrong about that. 100% could be wrong about that. But it kind of felt like they were dropping hints that this isn't actually Lady Loki. And that's kind of why I started to side with people who were theorizing this could be Enchantress or something else entirely, but we'll see. But that's exactly what my thought process was as well, Kenna. All right, Black Conscious and Rich, BCR writes, Loki's quote, it's part of the illusion. It's the cruel, elaborate trick conjured by the weak to inspire fear, will be the theme and will apply to the TVA. Maybe. I mean, but there's a part of me, that feels like that would be undermining the true moment of self-realization and self-honesty that Loki was having about himself. Because remember, he started off saying that what is applicable to the TVA, but ultimately he said, it's not about the TVA, that's about me. That's really the applicable statement about me. He started off trying to say that was an applicable statement to the TVA, but then he turned it around full circle and said, that's me. That's me. And I love that line. It's part of the illusion. It's the cruel, elaborate trick conjured by the weak to inspire fear. It's that. So I think for them to now then turn around and say it's about the TVA, I think that undermines that incredible character development moment of Loki. Now, again, you may be right and I may be wrong. We'll find out as episodes go, but that's kind of my gut feeling on it right now. But, we'll see. All right. Next up, we have Eduardo, who writes, John, have you ever imagined yourself being an evolved man with the power of space-time manipulation and the will to jump between timelines? John for TVA. I have not. Man, that would be... Here's the problem, and I should never have that power. I should never have that power because I will tell you right now, I would abuse the living hell out of that power. Oh, I'm just being honest with you, folks. I'm just being honest with you. If I had that kind of power, holy shit, would I abuse it in all the wrong ways. I mean, I feel like Gandalf. Remember when Gandalf, when he rejected the ring, he says, understand, Frodo, if I were to take the ring, I would do so with the intention to do good, but through me, it would wield unspeakable evil, right? You give me that kind of power, my first intention would be, I'm going to do so many good things. I'm going to do so many good things for humanity and all that kind of stuff. But what am I really going to use it for? Oh, probably some real selfish shit. Probably. I'm just being self-realized like Loki. I'm just trying to be self-realized and be honest with myself. I would probably totally abuse that power. All right, next up. Thanks for that, Eduardo. Next up, Mike Farino writes, might have already been asked this, but why doesn't the TVA use the bombs immediately when they show up? It should trim the branch even if they don't catch the criminal. My guess is... Here, and this is only my guess. And by the way, Mike tipped in $25 to be supportive. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. This is my guess. That the TVA considers themselves fair and just. And they always, at least it seems they try, to bring the variant in to face a trial. And they are given the opportunity to defend themselves and to speak on their own behalf. Also, I got a feeling there's negative consequences to setting those charges, and therefore they only want to set the charges where they are absolutely needed to be set. Now, again, this is me extrapolating a conclusion based on the very little amount of knowledge that we've got for the first two things. But those are my assumptions right now until new information changes them. Number one is that they want to give every variant the opportunity to defend themselves and speak on their own behalf, so they bring them to trial. Number two, I have a feeling it's not just a simple thing of setting off a charge. There's probably a negative consequence, and therefore they only want to do it when it's absolutely necessary and when it can be contained. So that's my guess. Could be completely wrong, though. Could be completely wrong on that, Mike. All right, thanks for writing that in, Mike. Really appreciate it, man. All right, Sirius Greycloak writes. That's a great D&D name, by the way. All right, Sirius Greycloak writes, there was a shot in episode 2 where one of the reports refers to Laufey. This has been covered several times. Laufey daughter, Sylvie. So there was a timeline where Laufey had a daughter instead of Loki. Again, though, that could mean anything. That could mean absolutely anything. Remember, there was apparently a variation where Loki won the Tour de France, right? It could mean anything, right? Now, tonight, we could find out that that report is the exact report of this exact variant, and it's actually the right one, and everything is in it is factual, and it gives us some insight into this character. That is one way it could go. But again, until they say that explicitly, it's just one of many possibilities. So we'll see. Again, I love that. That is a great Dungeons and Dragons name, damn it. Sirius Greycloak. I like that a lot. Anyway, okay. Next up. JB1411 writes, I think Loki will come to a crossroads with the chance to create a timeline that ends with him being a ruler of people or save everyone and keep the current timeline, which ends with him dying by Thanos. See, here's why I don't agree with that yet. Again, tomorrow I might agree, but for now I don't agree. And that is because of this. You could create a timeline by variance, but you don't get to say how that timeline goes. Like, Loki picking up the Tesseract and escaping wasn't supposed to happen in the sacred timeline. And therefore, he became a variant. It created a new Nexus event and a branch off that, had they not apprehended him, could have led to multiverse. But let's say the TVA didn't catch him. Loki, by creating that new timeline, he doesn't suddenly become God. And now he gets to say, in this timeline, I will be ruler of the world. No, he was already in a timeline where he tried to become ruler in the world and he wasn't able to do it. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't get anything here that says if you're a variant and you're able to create a Nexus event and all that kind of stuff, you now get to become the author of reality. You know what I mean? Again, once we see episode 3 and we get more information, maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll change my mind on that. But for now, I just don't get that that's kind of what they're explaining. But we'll see, man. We'll see. All right. K Nikio writes, where'd he go? There it is. How localized are the charges? Good question. I'm not sure. In episode 1, they put one in the Gobi Desert, and it should reach New York City, where Loki took the Tesseract. Greetings from Chile. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because remember, Loki just removed himself from the situation. He couldn't then affect anybody else that was going on. Like, for instance, let's say Hawkeye was supposed to go over to the fountain and take a drink. Instead of Loki disappearing with the Tesseract, he hung around there and grabbed Hawkeye and pulled him away from the fountain. Well, now all sorts of things are starting to happen that weren't supposed to happen. Right? My theory, for now, could totally change in 24 hours, is that because Loki just took it and disappeared, he didn't have any more domino affecting on everybody else there. Therefore, a charge didn't need to be set in New York. However, these people in the Gobi Desert were not supposed to suddenly be confronted with Loki. Now they become parts of the variants, and that needed to be reset. So that's my guess. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. All right, thanks for that, King Nico. Josh Katz Curtis sends in just a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Josh. Black Bono Lala sends in, what do you think of the TVA world? Well, it's beautiful. You know what I love too? Was that moment as when Loki, I think it was episode 1, Loki says, this is a nightmare. And then Mobius says, no, that's another department. I'll help you burn them down. I mean, that was pretty fun. So clearly the TVA is a huge sprawling thing. A huge sprawling thing, but I think it looks really beautiful. All right, next up, Scott F. writes, hey, John, love the shirt. Thanks, man. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. Also, happy game day. Yep, I got this from Russo Brothers. Russo Brothers brought this shirt. I had the Russo Brothers into my studio one day talking about the upcoming Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and they brought this shirt in and gave it to me as a gift, which was very, very nice of them. So I really like this shirt a lot. So thank you for noticing, man. I appreciate that. All right, next up, Wyatt Bender sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Wyatt, for supporting our channel on that level, man. Wyatt writes, so far, I am loving this show. Me too, 100%. I don't think the variant is Lady Loki or Enchantress. Totally possible. Not until the next coming weeks if either character is confirmed. Plus, Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston banter is hilarious. Dude, the major strength of this show to me has been the dialogue between Mobius and Loki, between Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. And man, the way they've been able to build a incredible on-camera chemistry with each other. You know what? Seriously, Owen Wilson has the ability to create amazing chemistry with whoever his co-stars are. Think about it. The chemistry between him and Jackie Chan in High Noon is what made what made that movie work completely. Then the chemistry between him and Vince Vaughn in Wedding Crashers, that chemistry is what made that movie work so well. Put him on screen with Tom Hiddleston. The chemistry between those two, to me, is what works best in this show. The common denominator in all of them is Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson just seems to have this ability. He's got such a personality about him, such a charisma about him, that he is just really able to forge a great on-screen chemistry with almost anybody that he's co-starring with. And it just works. And that's why it's working so well in this one for me, Wyatt. I think that banter has been incredible. And again, as far as, is it Lady Loki? Is it Enchantress? I don't think we're going to find out in the coming weeks. I think we are going to find out tonight. I think we're going to find out tonight. I think we will get a definitive answer on who is this variant and what do they want tonight. That is my big prediction for the evening. And the final thing here is John Demoto just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you so much for that, John Demoto. I appreciate that very much. And guys, that'll do it. There we are now through all of your theories, predictions, expectations for what we're going to get tonight. We are now just, 6.5 hours away. 6.5 hours away from Loki Episode 3. Now, guys, don't forget again, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the same time we started the pregame show, we've got our post-game show. We've got our Loki Episode 3 open spoiler discussion. So we got to watch this show. We're going to digest it all, and then we're going to get together tomorrow and completely freak out about what did everything mean. But guys, until then, and don't forget, we got the John Campea Show in the morning too. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett got some Transformers stuff that we're going to talk about. All exciting. But guys, for now, that'll do it for this week's installment of the Loki pregame show. Thank you guys for being here, throwing in all these great predictions, all these great theories. Let's see what comes to pass. Let's see what doesn't. Are we going to find out the true identity of this variant tonight? I think we will. Maybe we won't. But guys, thanks for being here, being a part of this, and thanks for making this a lot of fun. Again, we will see you tomorrow morning on the John Campea Show, and then, of course, for the Loki spoiler discussion in the afternoon. Thank you to everybody for participating and being here and making this stream a part of your day. Well, that will do it for me for now, guys. It is game day, 6.5 hours to go. I hope you guys have a great time watching that show either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending where it is you live. I hope you have a lot of fun watching it. I hope we enjoy it, and I can't wait to talk about it again tomorrow. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friend, glorious purpose.